feeling the burn. He's not throwing in the towel yet, but the Democratic presidential candidate is laying out his goal.
To make certain that Donald Trump is defeated and defeated badly.
Brexit on hold. Campaigning for Britain's EU membership referendum is suspended as the country mourns the killing of lawmaker Joe Cox. The joy of love. Pope Francis explores the effects of what he calls a throwaway culture on marriage. And we'll introduce you to a high school student who now has a bright future thanks to a Catholic group called Cristo Rey. Those stories and more on EWTN News Nightly for Friday, June 17th, 2016. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lauren Ashburn. Presidential candidate Bernie Sanders says he will continue his grassroots efforts. He is taking his campaign to the Democratic National Convention next month, where he has 1,900 delegates. He wants to work with Secretary Clinton to transform the Democratic Party.
I look forward in the coming weeks to continued discussion between the two campaigns to make certain that your voices are heard and that the Democratic Party passes the most progressive platform in its history.
Bernie Sanders met with Clinton on Tuesday after losing the Washington, D.C. primary. Senator John McCain is trying to backtrack on comments he made blaming President Obama for Sunday's mass shooting at an Orlando, Florida nightclub. McCain was speaking to reporters on Capitol Hill on Thursday when he linked the president directly to the Orlando massacre. Here's the audio.
Barack Obama is directly responsible for it, because when he pulled everybody out of Iraq, Al-Qaeda went to Syria, became ISIS, and ISIS is what it is today, thanks to Barack Obama's failures, utter failures, by pulling everybody out of Iraq, thinking that conflict's in just because we leave. So the responsibility for it lies with President Barack Obama and his failed policies.
McCain later sought to clarify those remarks, saying he misspoke. He blames the president's national security decisions for what happened, not the president himself. The White House said we are not going to be distracted by small things. Melinda Henenberger is editor-in-chief of Roll Call and our go-to gal for politics analysis. Welcome back.
Thanks, Lauren.
Tell me what you think about McCain. Why did he do this? Why would he come out with a personal attack like that?
I really think that he was just popping off in anger. I don't think it was strategic. A lot of people have said, well, because he's in a tough re-election race, he might have found some political gain in saying this. I really just think that he felt so frustrated in this situation, and we have seen him do that sometimes before. But I also give him credit for walking it right back. I think if he had been doing it strategically, he would have stuck with it instead of immediately afterwards saying he misspoke.
I think I'm with you there. I've seen him fly off the handle in years past. Just seems to have a quick fuse. Sanders, now, is he going to hurt Clinton by not pulling out? He, up until last night, is still saying, hey, I have 1,900 delegates. We're going to the convention. That's what I said I'm going to do, and I'm doing it.
I know that some of her people think that he's hurting her by not getting out, but I don't think so. And in fact, I think there would be so much anger among Sanders supporting Democrats if he didn't do what he said he was going to do and take it all the way to the convention, that it would hurt her more than him staying in. He has stopped attacking her in any way, shape, or form, and he's saying, as you just showed on the tape,
right,
that he's going to do everything he can to help defeat Trump. So no.
Now to the big story of the week. Is there going to be a big movement now on gun control? I was at the White House and I said to them, is this the moment for Democrats? Is this your shining moment? Are you going to pass some legislation?
No.
No.
At least anything can happen, right?
Right, of course.
We
All right, there's
always have to give that caveat.
Okay, there's your caveat.
We're having 4 different votes on 4 different amendments to a spending bill on Monday, 2 of them Democratic amendments, 2 of them Republican amendments. They would need 60 votes to pass, and none of those amendments now has 60 votes. Susan Collins,
Maine.
yes, a moderate Republican, is working on a different, she says, why do we keep voting on these same things that are not going to make it? Fair point. Why don't we see if there's something that we can agree on? The 2 basic things they're looking at doing is closing the gun show loophole
And the no-fly.
and the no-fly list for terror, to keep guns out of the hands of people that are on one of the terror watch lists.
Right. And on Monday, we'll see Bernie Sanders come back to the Capitol for these votes. You heard it here, folks. Melinda Henneberger says they're not going to amount to a hill of beans. Thank you so much. Melinda Henneberger, editor-in-chief of Roll Call. Other stories our EWTN News Nightly team is covering in today's world. The debate over whether or not Britain should leave the European Union is on hold tonight. The UK is mourning the murder of a member of Parliament. Wyatt Goolsbee reports from outside the British Embassy here in Washington, D.C. Wyatt.
Lauren, leaders from around the world are offering their condolences. Many, including the State Department, say they are shocked and appalled by the sudden shooting of Jo Cox, all while she was doing her public duty. Prime Minister David Cameron and Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn pay respects to Jo Cox today, laying flowers in her hometown of Birstall, England.
Today our nation is rightly shocked, and I think it is a moment to stand back and think about some of the things that are so important about our country.
Cox, a 41-year-old member of the Labour Party, was attacked in broad daylight Thursday, stabbed and shot on the streets while she was going to meet with constituents. Authorities arrested 52-year-old Thomas Mayer and are combing through his home in search of clues. A witness claims Mayer shouted "Britain first" or something similar. Across the country, people of faith pray not only for their nation, but for the husband and 2 children Cox left behind. She had been campaigning for the UK to stay in the EU when it votes in a referendum next Thursday. All campaigning activity has halted for now, but the issue continues to be a divisive one. John O'Sullivan, a former speechwriter for Margaret Thatcher, is in favor of what's called Brexit. He says immigration is a big reason why.
Well, the problem is that Britain, as part of the European Union, is not allowed to control which European citizens come in. European citizens have an absolute right of entry. British people, by and large, want to be able to control it and gain back their sovereignty.
But not everyone agrees. Cameron says it would be better for Britain's economy in the long run to remain in the EU. It's not clear when both campaigns will resume. The House of Commons will pay tribute to Cox on Monday. They were not originally scheduled to be back in session until Thursday's referendum. Lauren.
Wyatt Goolsbee reporting in Washington, D.C. Thank you, Wyatt. Iraqi special forces gained control over most of the city of Fallujah after intense fighting with ISIS. Hundreds of displaced Iraqi families are fleeing the city, and groups estimate that 50,000 civilians remain trapped inside Fallujah, which has been under ISIS control for more than 2 years. It's the last major city in western Iraq still held by the extremist group. Iraqi forces have retaken most of the territory around the city, but faced heavy resistance while pushing toward the center. Secretary of State John Kerry welcomes criticism from dozens of State Department employees. They're frustrated with America's inability to halt a civil war in Syria.
Well, I haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I agree with the process. It's a great process. Gives people a chance to express their views, and we will process it now.
The war has killed 500,000 people and contributed to a worldwide refugee crisis. Kerry, who is visiting Denmark, says he'll meet with employees when he returns. 5 people who died at the Orlando nightclub shooting are laid to rest today. More funerals are scheduled for this weekend. People from around the world are supporting victims and their families. The One Orlando Fund has already raised $7 million. Orlando's mayor says donation money will be distributed directly to survivors and relatives. It's been an emotional week. Understanding the Orlando terror attack, and today is the 1-year anniversary of 9 people killed at a Charleston, South Carolina church. Dylan Roof confessed to the killings and faces the death penalty. Jason Calvi tells us how the South Carolina community is standing strong.
Strength in Charleston tonight. A year after blood flowed inside a Bible study at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church. Sharon Risher's 2 cousins and her mom died in the attack.
1 year. It's been most of the year has been a big blur. It really has been. But here we are.
Pastor Clementa Pickney died with his flock, but his faith lives on.
I have all the programs from all the funerals. They stay in a drawer right by my bed as a reminder of the goodness of people, of the faith I strive to have, of the love of God that they had.
Pickney was also a state senator, working on a doctoral thesis on the dual role of being a public servant and a minister. The new pastor at Mother Emanuel Church says forgiveness is a daily struggle.
What most people don't understand is that forgiveness does not negate the other emotions such as anger or rage. It simply means that in order for us to wake up every morning, to live through the day, we do not need the burden of unforgiveness.
And today, they put that into action.
Have mercy upon the soul and the life of young Dylan Ruth.
A killer who says he wanted to start a race war, but instead, healing and faith rise up on this anniversary.
Reverend Pickney's widow, Jennifer, and their 2 daughters received his doctorate here at Wesley Theological Seminary. The school says it's the first time a student who hasn't finished their coursework has received the degree. They say he completed and defended his thesis by what happened, his final night. The school today is setting up a scholarship so other students can follow his example. Lauren?
Jason, thank you for that moving story. Fueled by hot and dry weather, wildfires threaten homes in California and other western states as crews struggle to contain the flames. A 1,400-acre wildfire tore through coastal canyons west of Santa Barbara yesterday. Hundreds of campers, those in rural homes and an oil facility, were evacuated. A fleet of aircraft dropped water and retardant. Famous properties in the area include Rancho del Cielo, which served as President Ronald Reagan's holiday home. Homes in Arizona, Nevada, and Utah also are threatened. Coming up, Pope Francis wants pastors to help couples understand the sacrament of marriage. And the Nebraska couple whose little boy was snatched away by an alligator in Florida speaks out. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Lauren Ashburn. The Vatican brings a second group of Syrian refugees to Rome. The 9 include 2 Christians. Pope Francis wants Europe to welcome the migrants fleeing war, persecution, and poverty. The first of 3 groups of Syrian refugees flew to Rome in May from Lesbos aboard Pope Francis's plane. All will live in housing provided by a Catholic charity. And Pope Francis says many marriages today can be considered invalid because couples do not understand that the sacrament of marriage binds them together forever. It's not the first time the Holy Father has said these controversial comments. Mary Shovlin, our Rome producer, joins us from Rome. Mary, what does it mean that marriages are invalid, or what did the Pope mean?
Good evening, Lauren. That's right. The Holy Father in his remarks meant that whenever a couple presents themselves for marriage in the church, they have to be very aware of what they're committing to. They're saying yes, but to what? So the church wants to make sure, and it's even written in canon law, that marriage is a contract between 2 people. It's an agreement. They stay married for life. The union between a man and a woman is indissoluble in order towards the procreation of children. But the church has to be very clear to make sure that the couples know what this forever means, as they even say in the vows, till death do us part.
You know, the Holy Father also mentioned a throwaway culture, and that's a term he uses a lot. How does he connect that to marriage?
Well, before the remarks he made about many marriages today being considered null and the fact that they don't know what commitment means and forever, he said this comes out of this throwaway culture, which is nothing lasts forever. You can treat people however you want. Even your word is not good, and it doesn't mean that it's binding forever. So when people are coming out of this throwaway culture, the culture of what he calls the temporary, provisional, it's very difficult for people coming out of this fabric of society to commit to one another for life and have a full understanding of what that means.
Is there a proposal to help married couples understand the sacrament?
Well, we've heard Pope Francis say many times that there's a greater need for better marriage preparation. He often points out that to be a priest, one needs 7 years of preparation, studies, formation. He said, but with the laity, oftentimes it's, hey, come to these 4 meetings, and then we expect you to understood everything and to stay together for life. So he said, we just need a little bit more preparation. But not only that, he says, let's have better preparation on the front end, but also after the couple gets married. Why don't we have older couples mentor the younger ones and accompany them in those first few difficult years? Just a few steps, Lauren, that he's suggesting to help marriages stay stronger and people to stay together.
It seems like there isn't a lot of that, especially here in the United States. Mary Shovlin, our producer in Rome, thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend, Mary.
Thank you, Lauren. You too.
Orthodox Christian leaders are making a last-minute appeal to the Russian Orthodox Church and 3 others. They want them to attend a historic meeting aimed at promoting unity. It's the first gathering between the 2 religions in more than a millennium. 4 churches pulled out after disagreements over some procedural and doctrinal issues. The leaders of other churches will meet on the Greek island of Crete starting this Sunday. And the Egypt Air flight data recorder has been found. The plane crashed last month, killing all 66 people on board. The discovery in the Mediterranean Sea comes a day after searchers found the plane's cockpit voice recorder. The Airbus A320 was flying May 19th from Paris to Cairo between the Greek island of Crete and the Egyptian coast. It's still not known what brought the plane down. No terrorist group has claimed responsibility. Russian President Vladimir Putin says clean athletes should not be punished because others have been caught doping. The World Olympic bans Russia's track and field team for the Rio de Janeiro Olympics. Putin also denied reports that the Russian government was involved in running doping programs for athletes. Disney World says it will add alligator warning signs, and the parents of Nebraska toddler dragged away by an alligator release a statement. 2-year-old Lane Graves was waiting in shallow water at a Disney hotel lake Tuesday night when a gator grabbed him. The boy's father couldn't save him. In part, the statement reads, "We are devastated and ask for privacy during this extremely difficult time." When mass tragedies occur, people often turn to psychologists to help deal with the pain. But for those of us not directly impacted by the shootings, how deeply does it affect us, especially children? Dr. Priscilla Dass-Brailsford chairs international psychology at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology here in Washington, D.C. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
How do these mass shootings affect people who are watching from far away?
So mass shootings affect everyone. Usually in trauma and violence work, we talk about the ripple effects of violence, and the ripples obviously affect people closest to the event, but even people very far away, internationally, globally, will be affected by it. And they can have symptoms similar to the people that are immediately affected.
What about children? How important is it for parents to explain things to children so that they don't get these symptoms?
So children are affected greatly by the behavior of their parents, as we all know. So it's really important for parents to first take care of their own feelings and reactions to a traumatic event, and so that they can then be appropriate caregivers to children. Children get really confused, especially if this is the first event that they have been exposed to. They may not have adequate coping skills, and parents there play an important role.
This is really the first generation of children that has grown up with terror attacks since 2001. What do parents specifically say to kids who say, "Mommy, Daddy, I'm scared. Is this going to happen to me?"
Right. So parents have to be really educated on how they teach children how to cope with violence. So for example, saying that this could happen to me is actually true. Violence is so random. It's so unexpected. We don't know where it could happen.
But then how do they feel safe?
So you teach your child how to feel safe. You know, you teach them certain things that they need to watch out for, scanning their environment, noticing if something looks a little askew when they're at the mall or at the movie theater, to be able to call you and say, "Mom, I'm not feeling good about being here right now. Can you come and pick me up? You have to be able to have that kind of relationship with your kid, and you have to have educated your kid on how to be safe. We teach children about the boogeyman, you know, about the sexual abuse perpetrator.
And this is the same thing?
Very similar. It's also a violent event. It's, you know, an abusive act.
Thank you so much, Dr. Priscilla Das-Brailsford at the Chicago School of Professional Psychology.
You're very welcome.
Up next, meet a young man who thanks God for being helped by the Catholic Cristo Rey Network. We'll take you to space where a change of guard is taking place at the International Space Station. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Lauren Ashburn. A good news story tonight of a Washington, D.C. young man who says without the help of the Cristo Rey Network, he would never be attending college. The nationwide Cristo Rey network of 30 schools provides low-income students with college prep education and 4 years in the professional world. As part of a corporate work-study program, a team of 4 students shares one entry-level job 1 day a week, and graduates are more than twice as likely to attend college than the national average of low-income high school graduates. One example includes Isaiah Kozier, a student at Don Bosco Cristo Rey, who worked at a law firm throughout all of high school. Kevin Bain is the chair of Cristo Rey Network nationwide and a partner at Williams & Connolly, a DC-based law firm where Isaiah Kozier interned for the corporate work study program. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Isaiah, you're working for one of the most prestigious law firms out there. Are you intimidated? Have you been nervous?
Well, the first year I worked at Williams & Connolly, when I first heard that it was #1 in DC, I was excited. I was extremely excited. Shy, but excited at the same time.
What are you doing now?
Basically clerical work. I'm doing a lot of scanning. Well, I'm actually working on a case.
You're actually working on a real trial case?
Yes. No, it's actually an old case, but I'm actually reviewing a deposition.
And you even know what the word deposition is. Kevin, when he came to you, he probably had not even heard of the word deposition.
When Isaiah came to Williams & Connolly 9th grade, he was a shy young man, and if I might say, a little bit of an underachiever at school.
Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Today, Isaiah is a confident, straight honor roll student who's heading off to college.
It's an incredible, and you credit Cristo Rey for this.
Yes, I do.
Why do you think that God put this in your life?
He has a plan for me. God has a plan for everybody. He put this in my life, even though I wasn't really grateful for it. He put this in my life because he knew that I can do it. So.
Kevin, tell me about the growth that you've seen in him and other students, I'm sure nationwide. As the chairman of the group nationwide, he's probably just one of very many students.
Isaiah is one of 10,000 success stories in the Cristo Rey Network. There have been 10,000 graduates and there are 10,000 students in the 30 schools in the network today. These students are all from an underserved population, largely minority. There are 2 distinctive features of the Cristo Rey Network. First, there's an income ceiling. If your family makes more than a certain amount of money, you can't come to Cristo Rey. We only serve the underserved. And secondly, every student has a job. Every student goes to work 1 day a week. And that way they can say they've actually worked their way through school.
That's fabulous. Now, would you tell other students to do this, or other businesses for that matter, to sponsor
yes,
students?
Of course. Even though the student may not understand why they're there, but yes, of course they should do it because they won't see the success that
you're sharing. You're going to
exactly,
Morgan State University, right?
Exactly, yes.
Would you have done that, do you think, without this program?
No, I wouldn't have. I would be, I don't know where I would be.
Kevin Bain is the chair of the Cristo Rey Network and a partner at Williams & Connolly, a DC-based law firm, where Isaiah Kozier interned. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren.
What a great story. Finally tonight, new leadership at the International Space Station. NASA astronaut
and with that,
Tim Korpa handing over command to flight engineer Jeff Williams. 3 of the astronauts will return to Earth tomorrow after 186 days in space. A new crew will be in charge until July. Until tomorrow, follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Follow me at Lauren Ashburn, and watch again on EWTN's YouTube page. For the EWTN News Nightly team, I'm Lauren Ashburn. Good night. God bless. Have a great weekend.